It is time for us to get started with the muscular system. So this is your first section of notes, the introduction to the muscular system. This is a different format than what we used last semester, and I think it's going to be helpful to you so you'll know where the important information is and how to categorize it in your notes. So while you're taking your notes, I suggest, not required, but I suggest that you get a few different colors so you can underline or highlight or just write in different colors so you can kind of see the most important things. You'll notice in this entire presentation or this entire bundle of notes that we have here, all of the headings are going to be in yellow. The vocabulary is going to be in blue, and the green is going to represent important information such as details or properties or functions and stuff like that. Okay, so let's get started. Your essential question for today is, which type of muscle extends to form tendons? By the time we finish these notes, you will be able to answer that question. Make sure, guys, you write these notes on the input side of your notebook, which is the right-hand side, and also write it in Cornell note format. All right, let's get started. All right, we all know this, so this is kind of review, that there are three types of muscle tissue. We have skeletal muscle, cardiac muscle, and smooth muscle. Let me do this here real quick. Skeletal muscle, which we all know, attaches to our skeleton, right? But not only that, it attaches to our bone, which is our skeleton, skin, or fascia. Okay, fascia is referring to the dense regular connective tissues that contain closely packed bundles of collagen, and it binds like plastic wrap. So what it is, it's a protective covering over our muscles. All right, and it's directly beneath the skin, or it's between muscles if muscle groups are together. Skeletal muscle is striated, which means it's striped. You can see a picture of it down here. These little stripes down here are called the striations. And they have light and dark bands visible with a microscope, and we're going to talk more and more about what those bands are and how they function. And we saw them in the microscope when we did our little tissue lab. And skeletal muscle is under voluntary control of contraction and relaxation. So voluntary means that we know what's going on and we are conscious of our skeletal muscle movements. Okay. Next type of muscle is cardiac muscle. Cardiac muscle is striated as well, which means it's striped. Okay, we can see those striations or stripes over here. It's involuntary control, which means our heart beats without us thinking about it. That's a good thing. We don't want to have to stop and think about making our heart beat. And it's autorhythmic because of a built-in pacemaker. Because our autonomic nervous system is functioning to work our heart, also it's working it at a certain pace or frequency. Okay, so it beats at a certain amount. Next type of muscle is smooth muscle. Smooth muscle is found in many, many locations in the body. It's attached to the hair follicles in our skin, but our rector pili muscle is smooth muscle. It's in the walls of our hollow organs, blood vessels, and our gastrointestinal tract, such as our stomach, intestines, and so on. And it's non-striated. See, smooth. One of the reasons why it's called smooth is because it's not striped. And it's involuntary. Involuntary meaning we do not have to think about it. Okay, like when we swallow our food, we don't have to keep swallowing and moving our food down consciously. It just goes down on its own, okay? It's involuntary. The rest of our body takes over and moves our food through our system. If you recall, something else that was unique about skeletal muscle is it has many nuclei. It's multinucleated. Cardiac muscle has one, smooth muscle has one as well. All right, next thing here are the functions of muscle tissue. A nice little list of 5 functions here. Functions of muscle tissue are that muscle tissue produces body movements. Like, for example, our body wouldn't move, my hands wouldn't move, my mouth wouldn't move unless I had muscle tissue there. Okay? It also stabilizes body positions. Being able to sit up in a chair requires muscles moving and working to keep our body in that position. Otherwise, we'd be like little babies and just kind of melt down in our chairs and fall over. Okay? It requires muscle working. Thirdly, It regulates organ volumes, like the size of our stomach is regulated by the muscle tissue, predominantly by the bands of smooth muscle called sphincters, okay? We will talk more about these features in smooth muscle when we get to the digestive system because they have a very specific function in the digestive system. Next, for the movement of substances within our bodies. Okay, so within like our digestive system, our blood vessels, our lymphatic system, urine, air, food, and fluids, and also in sperm, the movement of a sperm through the body. Okay, muscle is also responsible for producing heat in our bodies. For example, if you've ever wondered why when you get cold you start shivering, it is your body trying to heat itself up by making your muscles twitch and move past each other to produce friction, therefore producing heat. Next little thing here is the properties of muscle tissue. There are 5 properties of muscle tissue that we need to be aware of. Muscle tissue is excitable, or it has excitability, which means it responds to chemicals released from nerve cells, those neurotransmitters. It's conductive, it has conductivity. It's the ability to propagate electrical signals over a membrane. So as those electrical signals move across the membrane, it's conductive, specifically your heart, your cardiac muscle. Contractility is the ability to shorten and generate a force, and we can see a picture of this up here. This muscle is relaxed, and when it contracts, the muscle fibers move past each other to make the muscle shorter altogether. Also, muscles not only can be contracted, but they are extensible. They have extensibility as a property, which means they can be stretched without being damaged. And finally, the property of muscle tissue is elasticity. It's the ability to return to the original shape after being stretched. Kind of like an elastic band. It always goes back to its original shape. This is our last official slide for this presentation. We're looking at how muscle tissue includes more than just specifically muscle tissue. It has connective tissue also. In order for our muscles to function as an organ, we have to have all of this connective tissue involved. For example, your muscles are all covered with the superficial fascia. Fascia, that's a strange word. It's loose connective tissue and fat, which is directly underneath the skin. So between the hypodermal layer, or the subcutaneous layer of your skin, and muscle is this really loose connective tissue and fat that is overlying your muscles, and that's called your superficial fascia. Deep fascia is that dense, irregular connective tissue that we talked about previously. It's that plastic wrap looking stuff that's around the muscle, okay? That's your deep fascia, and it's a really dense connective tissue, and it's strong. Connective tissue components of your muscle include your epimysium, and you can see here the epimysium kind of surrounds the whole muscle itself. Your perimysium, which surrounds the bundles or the fascicles of about 10 to 100 muscle cells. Your endomysium, which separates into individual muscle cells. Okay. And all of these connective tissue layers extend beyond the muscle belly to form a tendon, okay? If you've ever noticed ropes, really good ropes or threads or fibers and stuff like that, what makes them stronger is a similar design as what our muscle tissue is. It starts off with a large bundle, and then those large bundles are made up of smaller bundles, which are made up of smaller bundles, or made up of smaller fibers, and so on. And they're all integrated together. And that's what we're going to be learning about, is how this works together. Now, if you paid attention at all to the essential question, right now you can answer that question. Lastly here, I just wanted to show you this image. This image is showing us how we've got a bone, and the muscle is attached to the bone because of the tendon. Remember, that tendon is the extension of the fascia, or the connective tissue that is covering the muscle tissue itself. We can see here the epimysium surrounding the entire muscle, the perimysium, and the endomysium. All right? And each individual muscle fiber or cell is even smaller there. This concludes your notes for today. Make sure you have these written down. And remember, guys, this is in Cornell note fashion, so take a moment to write a summary for this. We may take a couple moments in class to do that, and add some questions. This will be the opportunity for you to bring back questions for me so we can talk about it before we move into our activity the next time we see each other in class. Okay? Have a wonderful day.